You may have heard of intermittent fasting, but you're not quite sure how to start doing it to get results, and above all, how to start doing it correctly. Today's video aims to answer that. It aims to provide a step-by-step guide, starting from scratch and without having any idea about how to do intermittent fasting. So I have to tell you that if you are advanced, if you have been doing intermittent fasting for a long time, if you have been using this tool successfully for a long time, maybe this is not your video because everything you are going to hear you probably already know. But if you are a person who wants to lose weight, you want to try this tool and you don't know how to do it or how to start, I'm going to specify step by step how you should do it. So let's get started. The first step or the first thing I would ask myself is the following. Why do I want to do intermittent fasting? And here we have many justifications when it comes to intermittent fasting. The vast majority of people do intermittent fasting for the first reason. They want to lose fat, they have excess weight, they are overweight or obese, or they have some pathology related to overweight or obesity. I'm talking about type 2 diabetes, I'm talking about metabolic syndrome or fatty liver, for example, to name a few, and they want to lose weight and lose fat. The vast majority, as I say, stick to this reason, but there are many more. Others, well, they want to try intermittent fasting in case it improves some pathology. This is a bit more complicated, a bit more complex because we really have little evidence to date at a clinical level and with people of improvements in pathologies. However, intermittent fasting is being studied very intensely in pathologies such as Alzheimer's, in pathologies such as cancer, in pathologies such as autoimmune diseases, in rheumatic diseases, in improvements of microbiota, even also digestive pathologies. As I say, there are people who, for example, have irritable bowel syndrome or have dyspepsia, have digestive problems, and want to try intermittent fasting. That's another reason. There are fewer people, but they also exist. Another group of people want to do it for simplicity, because it's simply more practical for them to eat twice a day than to eat 5 times. Or because for work reasons they want to save time and skip a meal for study reasons. Or because it's simply more practical and fits better into their daily routine, their schedule, and it simply suits them better. There are other people who want to do it for maintenance, that is, perhaps they come from a weight loss, they are already at their ideal weight, but they want to keep the tool because they feel great with it. They feel good, they don't gain weight, they feel satisfied and they want to keep it. So there are people who do it with the goal of maintaining their health without looking for a weight loss or without looking for anything specific. And then there are other people who do intermittent fasting to achieve other benefits. Here this topic is more complicated. I'm talking about people who do it strictly for the issue of autophagy or to improve acne or improve skin or improve cognitive ability. These benefits have indeed been reported, especially in animal models. In people, they are not so proven. What I mean is that the reasons are many. They are very varied, but the one we are going to take for granted today is the first. We are going to explain to a person who would want to lose weight, lose fat, how to start intermittent fasting. Then we move on to the second step. We already know the why. We want to lose fat. Now, the expectations. Expectations are very important. What do I aim to achieve by doing intermittent fasting? And this may seem insignificant, but it can determine the success or failure of an intervention. Any diet, any method is going to work if you follow it. And the expectations here will determine whether you're going to stick with it long term or not. You have to be realistic when doing intermittent fasting, and if, for example, you need to lose 25 kilos, don't want to lose it all in the first month. Very high expectations, very far from reality, will make you feel frustrated and powerless, see that you don't achieve what you expected and end up quitting. You may think that losing 2 kilos a month or 3 kilos a month is a very poor loss. But if you do it consistently, patiently, and well done over a year, we're talking about 24 to 36 kilos of weight. Doesn't it seem so bad now? That's what we're talking about. I'd rather you be patient and do things right over a slightly extended period of time than pretend to lose 30 or 25 kilos in a month. And here I recommend that you don't compare yourself with anyone. There are always success stories, always stories of someone who has lost 25 kilos in 6 weeks and is running marathons thanks to intermittent fasting. Okay, there are all kinds of stories, but don't compare yourself with anyone because each person starts from a different baseline and has very different conditions and contexts. So don't compare yourself with anyone. Look, if you want to have a rough idea of your ideal weight, something you can do, and I stress the word rough, something you can do is multiply your height squared in meters by 25. If you measure 1.80, it would be 0.80 squared, by that is 1.80 by 1.80 by 25, okay? And this would be an approximation of your ideal weight, okay? You can also multiply it by 23 or 24, depending on your build, but it's an approximation of your ideal weight. Well, aim for a loss of about 2-3 kilos per month. We don't want faster losses. If you achieve faster losses, it's not bad, but don't take it for granted. Don't assume that you're going to lose 6 kilos every month, okay? Because you would disappear from the face of the earth in a few months. Step number 3. Remove unhealthy foods from your diet. Intermittent fasting is not a diet. It is not a protocol that prescribes food. That is, no one is going to tell you what to eat during intermittent fasting, because intermittent fasting only tells you when to eat. It sets feeding times and fasting times as simple as that. That's intermittent fasting. Depending on the protocol, the number of fasting hours will be more or less. That's intermittent fasting. Therefore, it's not going to tell you that you have to eat chicken with vegetables on Monday, beef stew on Tuesday, baked sibas on Wednesday. No, it's not going to tell you what foods to eat. But I am going to tell you one thing. If you eliminate these foods from your diet, everything will be much faster and your health will greatly benefit. Eliminate ultra-processed foods from your pantry. I'm talking about cookies, I'm talking about pre-cooked meals, I'm talking about snack bars, cereals, I'm talking about all those foods that fill our pantries. Eliminate sodas, yes, even the zero ones. Eliminate alcohol, eliminate pastries, don't have pastries at home. Also, eliminate processed meats and sausages and eliminate sugary dairy products like shakes, sugary yogurts, and chocolate with a lot of sugar. Also, eliminate the juices that are so consumed. The juices are still so consumed, whether they are packaged or natural. If you eliminate this list of foods, I guarantee you that everything will go much faster, much faster. And now step 4. The transition week arrives. And why do I talk about a transition week? Because if you start anxiously doing 20 hours of fasting, when you come from eating 5 times a day, you're going to feel bad. You're going to think this isn't for you, because no one who is used to eating every 2 or 3 hours tolerates 20 hours of fasting well. You don't have the metabolic flexibility to tolerate it well, so use your head and use the principle of progression. I want this to be progressive. In this transition week, and I want you to do it this way, I want you to establish a transition week, you are going to follow 2 principles. Principle A is as follows. You are going to have 3 meals. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. No mid-morning snack, I don't care what it is. You're not going to eat anything mid-morning, nor are you going to have anything for an afternoon snack. You will have 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Principle A is very easy to follow. And principle B, also very easy to follow. You're not going to eat anything between meals, which is the same as saying principle A in another way. You're not going to eat anything from breakfast to lunch. You're not going to eat anything from lunch to dinner. And you're not going to eat anything from dinner to breakfast. This means no more trips to the fridge, no more potato chips, no more beers before meals, no more peanuts while watching the football game, no more sunflower seeds while I go to pick up the kids, no more sodas while I watch a basketball game, no more of all those snacks that we do between meals, and that prevent clearly defining what is eating and what is fasting. This is about intermittent fasting, regaining habits that we have lost. Our physiology works in a physical way. This means that there are, or should be, fasting phases, catabolism phases, phases of using the energy substrates we have stored, of activating catabolic pathways, and anabolism phases of rest, of structure construction, of structure repair, of nutrient absorption. If these two phases are not present, if they are not balanced, disease will appear, obesity will appear, and the system will start to fail. What to do after the transition week? Well, step 5 lasts 4 weeks. And in step 5, we are going to start doing intermittent fasting. Notice that we have used a preliminary to think about why we do it. Think about our expectations, what we intend to achieve. Remove undesirables from our diet, from our pantry. Make a transition week. And now, yes, we go with this period, this step 5 that will last 4 weeks. In them, we will establish a protocol that for me is the simplest, it is the most tolerated, the best tolerated. Practically anyone can do it without having great risks. It's a 16-8 intermittent fasting protocol. When you hear this 16-8, 18-6, 24, it's very easy to understand. The first number refers to the number of daily fasting hours you're going to implement. In this case, 16 hours. And the second number refers to the feeding window. That is the number of hours in which you can or cannot eat. I say can because you're not going to be eating for 8 hours, but during those 8 hours you can have 1, 2, or 3 meals depending on the case, okay? So therefore, we're going to implement 16 hours of fasting. How do we do it? Are we going to die trying? Are we going to be very hungry? Are we going to feel bad? No, calm down. You're coming from a week of habit establishment where you would have gotten used to not snacking between meals and eating 3 times a day. This means if you have breakfast at 8 in the morning and lunch around 2 in the afternoon, you're already tolerating several hours of fasting adequately. So it's going to be a little bit more, okay? If you have dinner at 9 in the evening, late night and lunch at 1 the next day, well, 16 hours have already passed, of which at least 8 you're going to spend sleeping, so it's not going to be as hard as you think. The first 3 days might be a bit tougher. You might feel a bit more tired, apathetic, have a headache. From the 4th, 5th, 6th day of intermittent fasting, you will tolerate it well. We are going to do this on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of these 4 weeks. We are going to do it 3 days a week in this way. We are going to go little by little. We are going to establish that principle of progression. We are going to avoid getting tired. We are going to avoid going too fast and short. And yes, I recommend that, especially on the days you do intermittent fasting, the meals you do have, in this case lunch and dinner, you eat until you feel satisfied. That you don't have a strict control of calories, that you increase the protein, and that you finish the meal satisfied. I want you to be satisfied at lunch and dinner. This is very important. And now we are going to the last step. The last step could be implemented from the 2nd month onwards, and it is another twist. You will have already achieved metabolic flexibility. Your body will already be able to oxidize fat easily in fasting periods. You will have already solved the problem of hunger that appears in fasting periods, and you will feel lighter. You will have lost weight. You will be happier with your new habits. Everything will go smoother now. So what's the plan? Implement the 16-8 daily from Monday to Sunday, or if you want from Monday to Saturday to leave a day. For more liberation, flexibility when it comes to social events, family meals, outings, and so on, okay? From Monday to Saturday, you will do a 16-8 protocol that can always be intensified. What does intensify mean? Well, there are ways to make it more advanced. You can do an 18-6, you can do a 24, you can do an 1 meal a day, 1 meal a day. You can do a fast on alternate days. You can do a fasting mimicking diet, a diet that mimics fasting. You can do 1,000 different protocols, more advanced and the ones I talk about in other videos. I'm not going to repeat them now because I repeat, this is for beginners, for those people who are just starting out. As an appendix to this video that has been a little longer, it's normal. It was a step-by-step guide. I give you some tricks that I have already mentioned, but I summarize the tricks to do during the fasting period, and that will greatly facilitate the process. First, when you're going to eat, increase the protein. This is essential. Protein leads to greater satiety and has the highest thermogenic effect, causing calorie loss during digestion and absorption. And also, well, protein sources tend to be rich in other micronutrients that are also interesting. So increase the protein. You can even add a supplement of a hydrolyzed whey protein. It will come in handy to increase the protein a bit. Keep you satiated throughout the day and get through this fasting period better. During fasting, get used to not eating anything. You can drink some infusion, you can have some coffee, yes. You can add a splash of coconut oil or with a splash of MCTs, it's okay. But I want you to mentally get used to separating feeding periods and fasting periods. Don't think about what to eat to avoid breaking your fast during intermittent fasting. No, that's not the idea. The idea is to create habits, teach your body to separate feeding periods and fasting periods. Establish that rhythm, that physical behavior of biology and physiology in our case. And finally, another piece of advice I give you is to keep yourself busy during fasting periods. Ideally, you should work or do something productive that allows you to stay focused on something other than food during the fasting period. It's essential to keep yourself away from all those things that remind you of food, like leisure, like hanging around the kitchen during the fasting period, because this will prevent or reduce the risk of you breaking your fast prematurely. Fast and not achieving the expected results. That's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. I hope it has been useful for those of you who are starting or want to start with intermittent fasting. Leave your doubts in the comments. See you in the next video. A hug and keep empowering. Thanks.